Make sure that you have already read this lesson. This is revision one-shot video. Watch the video till the end.
So now let us begin a new journey called as biological classification. So the name itself says that biological classification of the biological system. The first question comes that why we should classify this biological system. So it is because to study it very easily. Then how it is easy when we classify? So for example, if we place similar things in one group, and if we study about one thing in that group, almost we have studied about all the organisms in that group. So like that, if we study about one organism in that group, almost we came to know about all the organism in that group. So for that reason we classify the biological system to study it very easily. And the first classification idea was given by Aristotle. He, based on the morphological character, he classified the plants. He was the first person to classify. He classified plants into three groups: herb, shrub and tree. And the second person who classified the biological system is Linnaeus. He classified animals and plants. He classified animals and plants. He proposed two kingdom system. It is called as two kingdom system, which is Plantae and Animalia, which consists Plantae and Animalia. But his classification had some drawbacks. His classification had some drawbacks, like photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic were all seen in same group. Unicellular, multicellular were seen in same group. So it was not acceptable, but it was used for a long time, Linnaeus classification system, two kingdom. And the third scientist, R.H. Whitaker, he had given the 5 kingdom classification system. Based on the mode of nutrition, reproduction, phylogenetic relation, he classified the organism into, he classified the biological system into 5 groups: Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So according to the R.H. Whitaker system, now let us see about the first kingdom. First kingdom is Monera. So in Monera, bacteria are the member of Monera. Bacteria or all Monera belongs to Monera classification. So these are, most of them are parasite. Based on the shape, bacteria are divided into 4 types: Coccus, Spirillum, Vibrium, Bacillus. And in that there are majorly, in Monera kingdom, there is 2 major groups: Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Archaebacteria, which are found in very harsh areas. And in Archaebacteria there are 3 types: halophiles, thermoacidophiles and methanogens. Halophiles, which are seen in very salty areas, they are also known as salt loving. And another is thermoacidophiles, which are present in hot spring and very acidic area. And methanogens, which are present in the gut of ruminant animals and in marshy areas. And it is present in the ruminant animals like cow and buffalo. And also this Archaebacteria have special cell wall structure, so they can survive in very harsh conditions. And the second major group is Eubacteria. In Monera, second group is Eubacteria. These Eubacteria are also known as true bacteria. And these will have autotrophic. These Eubacteria are autotrophic and heterotrophic, which helps in fixation of nitrogen. Autotrophic, and in autotrophic there are two types: chemoautotroph, photoautotrophic, which use chemical, which use light for preparation of food. In heterotrophic, it is abundant in nature, where we can see it helps in preparation of curd and also in production of antibiotics. And when we see about the reproduction of this Monera kingdom, these reproduce by spore, sexually and asexually. And one of the type in Monera is mycoplasm. Protista. These are the second kingdom of R.H. Whitaker. These are unicellular and which have well-defined nucleus. So these are eukaryotic, and these reproduce by sexual and asexual. There are majorly 5 groups in this Protista. The first group is Christophite. Christophite contains diatoms or decimates, decimates or golden algae. And these are photosynthetic, and these are plankton which move with the water current, which flows with water current. And these have different type of cell wall, which is like soap box, and which is made up of silica, and which is indestructible, which is very strong, which cannot be broken very easily. And these all present in the water. So these form an diatomaceous earth. Where they are present, these form diatomaceous earth, which is very rough, and it is used for polishing and filtration. And these are the chief producers of ocean. Dinoflagella, which is the second group of Protista kingdom. So as the name tells, Dinoflagella, which will have 2 flagella. One is longitudinal flagella and another one is transverse flagella. So these are found in marine water and photosynthetic organisms. This contains different types of pigments or colors. One of the example is goniolox, which is responsible for the formation of red tide. The ocean appears red. And these are toxic, which may kill other animals. Eugenoid. Eugenoid is the third group of kingdom Protista. Eugenoid are found in fresh water and stagnant water. Instead of cell wall, it contains pellicle, and which are photosynthetic, and in the absence of cell wall, it acts as heterotrophic. And similar pigments like similar pigments of higher plants are seen in this Eugenoids. The fourth group of kingdom Protista is slimoids, which are saprophytic and which produce plasmodium, which forms plasmodium and which also forms spores. The next, which is the fifth group of the kingdom Protista, is protozoa. Protozoa are parasites and which are also known as primitive relatives of animal. There are majorly 4 groups in this protozoa: ciliated protozoa, flagellated protozoa, sporozoa, and amoeboid protozoa. According to the R.H. Whitaker classification, the third kingdom is fungus. These fungi are heterotrophic organisms and multicellular organisms. Heterotrophic and multicellular organisms. And these are cosmopolitan, which is spreaded wild. All over the world it is present. So these are known as cosmopolitan organisms. And some examples are rust causing fungi, Puccinia, which causes rust on other organisms, and penicillium, which is used in antibiotic. And the cell wall of the fungi is made up of chitin, and these form hyphae, and this network of hyphae is called as mycelium. This network of hyphae is called mycelium. It is nothing but the body of the fungi is called as mycelium. And in this, these are parasite. Most of them are parasite, saprophytic and symbiotic associations, and these reproduce by 3 steps. First one is plasmogamy, karyogamy and spore formation. There is an intermediate state between karyogamy and spore formation, that is known as dikaryogamy. This dikaryogamy is represented as n plus n. N plus n means it contains 2 nuclei when it enters into dikaryogamy. So based on the morphology of mycelium, and spore formation and some other bases, this fungi is divided majorly into 4 groups. The first group is Phycomycetes, Ascomycetis, Basidiomycetis and Butyromycetis. First let us see about which are aquatic and obligately parasite, which will take birth as parasite, which will lead life as parasite, and which will die as parasite. Throughout the life it is parasite, so it is known as the obligate parasite. This form zoospore and alphanospores. And example for this, mucor and Albugo rhizopus. are the examples for this. The second class or the second group, which is based on the characters, based on some characters, the second group of fungi is Ascomycetis, which is also known as sad fungi. There is an exception, as I told. Yeast is an unicellular fungi, so that yeast belongs to this Ascomycetis group. So this Ascomycetis form a sexual spore called as conidial spores, and sexual spore called as ascospore, and fruiting body ascocarp. And some example for this are Penicillium, Claviceps, and etc. And the third group is Basidiomycetes, which is also known as bracket fungi. There is no asexual spore in Basidiomycetes, but there is a vegetative reproduction by fragmentation, and this this form basidiospore, which is sexual spore, and fruiting body basidiocarp. Example, agaricus also known as, and this contain rust causing fungi, as I told, Puccinia, which causes rust. And the third group this fungi is divided is, that is Butyromycetes. These Butyromycetes are also known as imperfect fungi. These are imperfect because it forms spores only by asexual. Asexual spores are only formed. But when it starts to form sexual spore, this is placed in other group. It is placed in other group when it becomes perfect, or when it starts producing sexual. So these asexual spores are known as conidial spores, and example for this are Alternaria and Trichoderm. After this fungi, the kingdom fungi, the two next kingdoms are Plantae and Animalia. We will study about this Plantae and Animalia kingdom, plant kingdom and animal kingdom in the separate chapter. So now we will not discuss about this. We will discuss about this in the next chapter, next two chapters. This was about the 5 kingdoms of R.H. Whittaker, and there are some special microorganisms in this biological world. So these are virus, viroids, prions, and lichens. These are not included in the R.H. Whittaker classification, but we will study about this as a separate one. So the first one is virus, which is inert and non-living when it is outside the host body, inert and crystalline. When it enters into the host, it becomes living, and it starts killing the host. It will start to kill the host. So these informations were known by several experiments done by scientists. The first scientist who done experiment about the virus is Eugenoid. He told that these viruses are smaller than bacteria. Through his experiment, Eugenoid told that these are smaller than bacteria. Viruses are smaller than bacteria. The second scientist, Berzernik, he told that it is an infectious living fluid. He named it as Contagium vivum fluidum, which is living infectious, fluid living infectious. And the third scientist, M.W. Stanley told that these are crystalline and have protein in them. And here, as you can see in this diagram, these contain RNA and protein coat outside, and this is TMV, tobacco mosaic virus, TMV, which causes in tobacco plant. And the second one is bacteriophage. Bacteriophage means the virus which infect bacteria, that are known as bacteriophages. So this virus will contain RNA or DNA. It will not contain both at once. It will contain either RNA or DNA. And the next one is viroids. This viroid was discovered by Danner. So these viroids are smaller than virus. These do not have any protein in them. And the second one is prions. Third one is prions. These prions are similar to the size of virus, whereas viroids are smaller than, and prions are similar to the size of virus. This prions cause mad cow disease, BSE, which is also known as BSE, mad cow disease, and CJD in human beings. CJD in human beings. That viroids will cause potato spindle tuber disease. Remember that potato spindle fiber disease. Spindle tuber disease is caused by viroids, as CJD in humans is caused by prions. That is mental issues, which deals with mental issues like mad cow disease, which is caused by prions. And the last one is lichen. These lichens means algae plus fungi, which associate. It is useful for the fungi as well as algae, where it is useful for both the organisms, and it is used as pollutant detector, which will detect the pollution of water, and these lichens will not grow in polluted areas. So this was the quick revision on biological classification. Let us see you in the next session with the next new chapter.